Boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the LFGM podcast. Let's fucking go Mets. Matty boy, how you doing?
Doing good, man. We're just riding this wave out here with stringing along some wins.
Yeah, man, literally riding the wave. The Mets right now are 34 and 25. This is a high watermark for them all year, being 9 games above 500. They are 5 games up on the Phillies, 6.5 up on the Braves in the NL East, and they're doing it with, I would call it half a squad. Really, we've got McNeil and Conforto and Nimmo and JD Davis all still on the IL. So kudos to the guys that are around and that are here and that are producing at a really, really high level right now.
Yeah, it's like so good to see. You almost are starting to expect these bench players like to actually continue performing the way they do, which I don't see why not. But it's definitely going to be better when we get our guys back, and then our bench guys can contribute smaller doses.
Definitely. I think there's a few names that of the bench mob that I think are here to stay. The first one I want to talk about is good old Billy Boy, Billy McKinney. Picked him up from the Milwaukee Brewers. He's been just a savior out there in the outfield. He is really good defensively. He's got a quick bat. He puts the ball in play. He's got some pop too. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do when everyone's healthy. But Billy McKinney is here to stay. I don't see him going anywhere.
No, especially you're talking about Almora, how he was like starting his rehab assignment and coming back, but he's way behind Billy Baseball on the depth charts. And, I keep watching him, and I'm just like, he's been around for a minute, not crazy long, since 2018, getting called up and down, back and forth. And I'm like, at first it was like all fun and games. I'm starting to think he definitely has a place on a major league roster. And I think we might have almost just like lucked into this one.
Yep.
And, even with Conforto, like maybe coming back, they're saying that they're going to, give him that time in center. So, we'll still be seeing him, and he'll be splitting some time with Pilar out there.
Absolutely. And, it's good because none of these guys feel the pressure to rush back at this point, which is really nice, especially the outfielders. So I think Billy McKinney, as you said, he's definitely a major league player. It's going to be interesting to see, how it works with Almora coming back too. But he has been so impressive to me, and I know a lot of people want to see him succeed because he's a very likable kid right now. The other two that I think are here to stay would be and obviously one a little bit more than the other. Jonathan VR has been nothing but a hit machine over there at third base, and he's played a pretty good defensive third base as well. And then Jose Peraza at second base has been nothing short of a solid major league ball player. We've got some depth moving forward here, and it's going to be interesting to see how Sandy and Zach Scott move forward when everyone starts to get healthy, because McNeil and Conforto both will be starting their rehab assignment.
Yeah, and I love VR. And I've seen some people talk about, wow, does he deserve to start still whenever JD gets back? And I know we're a bit of a ways away from that. And people have kind of said things like that, like maybe he does or whatever. We also got to realize, he still is hitting 256, right? Yeah. But there's something he definitely should be getting more playing time. We're talking 3, maybe even 4 days a week, regardless of who's back. Because the guy that's hitting 260 with pop, he's driving runs in, and he's fast on the base pass. I think he's got 7 steals or something like that. That's someone that it goes beyond the stats with him. It really does, and his defense as well. So he's someone that's like, yeah, regardless of who's coming back, he's going to continue to get playing time. And even like in important games down the stretch, playoff games, even if it's a nice matchup for him, you got to think about playing him.
Definitely. I mean, switch hitter, speed off the bench. I mean, if you need someone to steal a bag for you late in the game, you can obviously pinch run with him, which is a nice, little like a little guy to have in your pocket there. But he's been really good. I don't, JD is my guy, and I think when JD comes back, it could be more like a 50-50 split, like we saw with McKinney and Nito for a week there. But it's just going to be, I think that is going to be more about managing JD Davis's time rather than the this is what it is moving forward type thing. But they those three guys have been so impressive to me. To step in there and to produce at a major league level is not an easy thing to do, and all three guys have done it. And it shows in our record right now, 34-25. The Mets are playing exciting baseball. I went to the game Saturday. It was awesome. Stroman was lights out against the Padres. It was just they're a really fun team to watch right now. They don't score a lot of runs, but their starting pitching keeps them in every single game.
And relief pitching. I mean, this bullpen, when's the last time, especially with, you could even go back to our last night's game, Tuesday night's game, sack fly to get the go-ahead run, and then our pen holding it down. Obviously, we got bailed out a little bit, but when's the last time you could really say, like, the Mets won games like that through, like, good contact hitting and solid pitching?
It's a good point. I mean, not that we got bailed out. Like, obviously, I think if the Cubs third base coach had to do it again, I think he would hold him at third base. At the same time, Diorman,
yeah, I think so.
the throw right there, and Marisnik is out by 5 feet. But you put the pressure on the Mets to make the play in that situation. The bullpen's been really good too. I think, Lugo coming back is huge for this bullpen because we've seen Trevor May has struggled giving up the long ball. And Castro's been hurt, and Jacob Barnes just got DFA'd. So although the bullpen's been really, really good, even the game, I think it was the last game against the Padres when Familia gave up. I think Familia was in for 2 innings, which I didn't love. And then he leaves with the bases loaded, and then Barnes gives up the grand slam. It happens, but the bullpen has been, I would say, 9 times out of 10, really, really good. I do think they're in a bit of a rut right now with May and Castro. We don't know, what's going on with Trevor May. Castro has not been healthy. He's got a sore neck. And then Lugo comes in, and last night he was outstanding. I mean, he gives you 2 innings and gets the save. You can't really ask for anything more from Seth. He was lights out in that first inning that he pitched.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, the second inning was a little shaky. Like, they were just like, they weren't biting on his curveball at all. Mm-hmm. So that tells me that it's probably breaking a little bit earlier and not as sharp as the first inning. But again, that's something that, he's just getting back into the swing of things. And, I'm sure he'll be fine with that. I find it interesting with Lugo because we don't really necessarily have to rely on him as much anymore, to like, hey, when should we, remember years past, like whenever we were like close to a win, like should now be the day that we pitch Lugo? Should it be? Now we kind of have like this freedom, and, obviously things change if like Miguel Castro can't get back or whatever it is, but, they expect him back soon too. But if you have all these guys in the pen, and, Peterson did pitch well last game. I'll give him that. But if, the 4 or 5 guys are maybe struggling, he's someone that it's been known where he can pitch 2 innings at a time, but then he needs 2 to 3 days of rest as well. So does he start as an opener at some point? And that's kind of like, once he gets into the swing of things, like, that'll be interesting to see how they kind of do that from there.
Definitely. It gives them a lot of bullpen flexibility, right? And I think the most important part of the bullpen flexibility is the success of Edwin Diaz this year. Edwin in save situations has been unreal. The slider's on point. The fastball command is typically there. I think he's got like a 2.7 ERA, which I think was pretty high from what I saw.
is.
A lot of that is from non-save opportunities and from hold situations too. He's been, I mean, when Edwin's on like this, it's almost like everything else falls into place, and it makes everybody else look better. Something I'm excited to see is Sean Reed Foley. Sean Reed Foley got called up. I think he gives them a lot of versatility out of the bullpen too. He definitely helps out with a guy like Lucchesi who's throwing 4, maybe 5 innings. Same with Gazelman. Gazelman's got to come back. He had a rough start the last time out, a rough outing the last time out. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on these guys. I do think they got a little overworked here the last 2 weeks. So to have our starters go deep into the game is going to be really important, which was great to see from Taijuan last night. I mean, his 2-seamer last night, the Cubs had, especially the lefties, they had no idea what to do with it. Taijuan had 12 strikeouts last night. It was Bartolo-esque, the 2-seamer going right at the Cubs hitter's hips and leaking right back over the plate. And Taijuan was awesome last night.
Yeah, I think the best part was him giving up the runs and then bouncing back from it. You know what I mean? Because like we've seen so many like starts from him where he's going 5-6 scoreless and then he's out, whatever it may be. But the fact that he gave up those 2 runs relatively early in the game and came back from that shows that. Yeah, he stuck with like his game plan too. He didn't like kind of vary from anything either. It's like, you know, it was just a pitch that just got away from him.
Yep. Like you can't throw strikes to Javi Baez. He's going to get himself out, which he's shown. You know, he's done all year.
Yeah. Like, take a pitch, man. Like,
and like you don't have to swing that hard, man. You don't get extra runs for hitting
on the strike zone. I don't know, man. I mean, like he's super talented and fun to watch, but Cubs fans got to be like
they got to be so frustrated with
slamming their head into the wall watching this guy swing at anything from the chin to the ankles here on this guy. Like,
dude, it was like Vladimir Guerrero used to do that, but he would make contact. He had a short contact swing with 2 strikes. This guy is swinging out of his shoes every time, every single time. It's unreal.
Like, I don't know, man. I know some guys can't do it, but he's got to like look at Anthony Rizzo a little bit and like, hey, I got to figure something out.
You know, just to go off on them a little bit. I mean, to have 2 guys in that lineup with completely different 2-strike approaches. What is the philosophy? What's the hitting philosophy, you know, for that team? Rizzo Javi Baez off, and I'm anytime he swings the bat, it's just. I mean, it's wild. They're winning games.
No, they're winning games. I mean, for now, I mean, they seem to be like they're sellers, though, which is crazy. But they just don't have the money, I don't think, for any of these guys. So they're like going to restart. But, I mean, yeah, the approach, it's weird because like all MLB teams at this point, they don't have like a universal approach. It's pretty obvious, right? Because you just see guys – completely different from batters 1 to 2 to 7. Like it's just all over the place, and that's kind of how the game is. But you're right; it definitely like shows a little bit more in a lineup like that.
Well, I do. I mean, we started talking about the starting pitching a little bit here. We got a deGrom night tonight, so you know, with Jake, he got taken out a little bit early. His last start, I would say, I think he took himself out with some side tightness. And it sounded like some elbow tightness. So all eyes on Jacob deGrom tonight. It sounds like he threw the other day. All went well, and let's pray to the baseball gods that all goes well tonight too, and that he's feeling healthy and everything come tomorrow.
I mean, I gotta ask, what's your worry meter 1 through 10?
I mean, I don't really have the precautionary worry thing. I think I trust Jake. So if he says he's healthy and he's good to go, I don't think he would rush it at this point, especially with where we are in the middle of the season. I would say my worry is like and I hate to sound like this, but maybe like a 2.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher than that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you are right. Like he's always been known to like kind of listen to his body and like he asks for that extra day when he needs it.
Yep.
So that's what I'm hoping for a little bit. I don't know. It's probably with everything else going on in the league too,
Yeah.
and like I'm almost worried about almost all of these guys at the same. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
just stay
let's
healthy.
let's stay there for a sec. So, I mean, we before we get into Glass now, we're 34 and 25 is 59 games, which means tonight would be our last regular season game of last year. Think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So, I mean, these guys they haven't done it in a long time. So I think it's normal to see muscle fatigue and teams being caught precautionary. I mean, it's just not, you cannot base this season off of last season, and these guys need the 100 we'll call it 140 games to feel good and to feel competent and to get their bodies in baseball shape, and they didn't have that last year. So I think teams are going to be really precautionary this year, and I think you are going to see a lot of 10-day IL stints and maybe skipping a start here and there. But I think that's just based off of not having 162 last year, you know?
Yeah, and we talked about this before, and you called this before the beginning of the season that you might see some injuries because of that
Mhm.
reason, right? Just not
Mhm.
being, having not having played 162 in 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I definitely understand that. I also it makes more sense to me now with Rojas taking out guys like Stroman and deGrom and even
Mhm.
Walker to an extent early, consistently over and over again, because it's like, and I've seen this across the board just watching random games too, where it almost seems like 80 pitches is the new 100 pitches. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like become that limit, which it's like, you know, it's frustrating at times, but then you do understand like the bigger picture and like,
Yeah.
hey, like we can't rush this at all because this will go very, very poorly if we decide to start throwing guys
Yeah,
100 pitches in
right.
May.
We don't need to stretch pitchers out over 100 pitches right now. We're going to need that, in August and September, and to do it right now, I think would be a little foolish, especially after what we just talked about.
I
So I
mean,
do.
having a nice bullpen helps. We
Yes,
can't stress
100%.
that
I mean,
enough. Like,
if we had the Phillies bullpen, I'd be screaming at my TV, "Why are you taking him
yeah,
out?" So,
yeah, and like he might overthink it, or he might just like hold back and like, all right, you're going one more to our
Mhm.
starters, and so we are kind of lucky in that sense
There
for
is
this.
going to come a time in the season where that changes, and I just don't. It's not right now, and that's okay.
No, it
Um,
might be. It honestly, and like depends the way it's going. It might not be until October.
I think post All-Star game, you're going to see guys really start to get into the fold here and pick it up, and it'll be nice, man. They'll I think the guys are going to get into a groove, and I think it's going to be really refreshing to see, and um, that like end of July, the whole month of August should be a freaking blast, man. I'm excited, I really am. But we got to get there first, right? And so like you said, Walker, I think he was around 90 pitches last night. Could he have pushed it another inning? Yeah, but why, right? So
Yeah,
deGrom, all eyes on him tonight. Let's make sure that he does, let's get through the game tonight healthy, and let's wake up tomorrow and be healthy too. And then, it's a non-story at that point then. Um, and I want to talk about Marcus and Peterson and even Joey Lucchesi. The rest of the staff has just been, I mean, absolutely lights out. I've seen the graphic on SNY a few times. It's like the lowest starting pitchers staff ERA since the '81 Houston Astros. And we do a lot of times we give credit where credit is due, right? And the pitchers have been awesome, and Hefner has been great with working with these guys. But I haven't really heard this narrative yet, and it's frustrating to me because I feel like I'm the only one talking about it, and it's James McCann. There has got to be, and it sucks because there's no stat for this, but that dude behind the plate calling the games, and he literally walked David Peterson through that last start. He has been, it's night and day from Wilson Ramos back there, and whatever you're getting from him at the plate at this point is really, really good. But look what he's doing with the starting bullpen. Look what he's doing with the starting rotation. Look what is happening with the bullpen. He deserves some credit too through all of this.
Oh yeah, and it's good because Keith and Ron definitely bring it up from time to time, like how vital he is to the pitcher's success this year, and that people like regular fans or just basic fans don't really realize that's so why he gets paid the way he gets paid a little bit more too. Like it's not just a hitting thing, and it's not just throwing out runners, which he's great at. It's not just framing pitches, which he's good at. It's the little things like that in communicating with the guys on that pitching staff, and you're right. It's and we're lucky with two guys. Like we got two guys that just can manage that game and no worries about it. And Nito's gonna continue to learn from someone who's probably one of the best in the game in McCann.
Absolutely. It's. I wish more people were noticing it, and I wish more people were talking about it because we saw. And I'll say we saw really lazy catching from Wilson Ramos. We saw the glove moving outside with the pitch, or we saw lazy throws to second base. We saw a catcher who could barely run down the first base line. Was he a good two-strike hitter? Yes. Did he hit with runners in scoring position? Yes. But what you're getting from James McCann behind the plate, it's hard to quantify that. And the way he's managed the starting rotation and the staff, to me, has just been unbelievable, and it's so much fun to watch. And I was thrilled with the way that he literally carried David Peterson through that game. And even something last night where the Mets had a shift on. I think Jock Peterson was batting. I think he was the batter. And Lugo was pitching, right? And foul ball over in third base territory. Lugo's running over. VR's running over. Nobody catches the ball. It sucks, right? What does James McCann do? He walks out to the mound and he gives Lugo a breather, right? And it's just like the little things that he does a really great job of, and I think a lot of times they don't get fully noticed. And I think he's just off to a really great start here as a Met, and anything that you get from him offensively, to me, is just a plus. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but if he batted 200 for the rest of the year, I'd be totally fine with the way that the staff is pitching.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take 230. But no, I know what you mean. And he's, we not only, got some good players on the field, but we also got two leaders through free agency too. People don't realize that in McCann and Lindor as well. So, hey, Lindor just loves a good mound visit, doesn't he? He goes every single time. He goes every single time. Every single time. It's great. It's always he's just hands over their shoulder and just listening. He just wants to hear what's going on. And it's cool. It's funny. It's great. I get a kick out of it every time now. It's oh yeah, he's definitely going in.
He loves what he does. He really does. And that type of player is infectious in the clubhouse, on a team. I mean, he's really starting to come around too. I think the batting average is up to 220 right now. When I was at the game on Saturday, he put together a great at bat, put together a walk. As soon as he was on first base, I looked at Jackie. I was like, something's happening here. You can tell. You just have a feel when good things are happening, when runs are going to be scored, and that's they had a big inning that inning, and it started off with him just getting on first base any way possible. Lindor, to me, is really coming into his own, and I think a lot of it has to do with the weather. I think a lot of it also has to do with the fans, maybe not booing him as much and him just kind of developing some confidence as a Met.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, he's hitting a lot better than what he was
For
3 weeks ago. 220 is not much, but when you go from 180 to 220, that's a
Exactly.
40-point difference right there in a couple weeks, and our fans can recognize things like that. So
Mhm.
I think I definitely have my doubts in the beginning about if he's going to have like a legitimate season, and still he may not get to 280, he may not get to 270, but you know I think he's someone that's going to be there come October, which
Right.
is really where you make your money anyway.
Right. Exactly. That's a great point. You can wipe away all the statistics come October and just you got to play ball, and you got to be hot at the right time too. So the Mets have two more with the Cubs tonight. As I mentioned, is a deGrom night, and then Marcus goes tomorrow, and then they go down to Washington for 3 games. We get the Nats at the right time because they just put Max Scherzer on the IL. I think Steven Strasburg is already on the IL, and Patrick Corbin is having just an absolutely brutal year. So we get the Nats at the right time, and then we come home for 3 with Atlanta. So it's going to be a busy week, but a good week. A lot of back and forth between home, then away, and then back home. A lot of games coming up here. I think they have like 2 or 3 double headers in a week, and then I think they're playing something like 31 games in 33 days, something crazy like that.
Yeah, so it's probably like at this point now we started that I think on Friday, so it's like 28 games in like 30 days or something. It's a pretty crazy stretch, but I think we'll be fine. Especially, I think we're gonna continue to like kick the shit out of teams in our division, which is the most important part, really, regular season. But I mean, like you said, Patrick Corbin too. Like he's been brutal. Hey, didn't we face him like twice already and just like beat
I
the
know they
shit out of
faced
him?
Ross. I remember the Ross game because I remember being like, how is he still in the major leagues? They don't have anybody else they can call up. And
He
he
pitched
was
against
all
us.
over the plate.
Oh, I know. But yeah. So he pitched against us in April,
Mm.
4 innings, 4 earned. So
Yeah, it's not great.
No. And that's like, we might have had some guys hurt at that point. We had so many guys hurt early on too. I can't even
Right.
like think back the last time we had a normal
Like,
roster.
when was the last time you even heard the name Brandon Nimmo?
Oh, I know. Well,
I
hey, we
know.
could talk about it. It's probably like he might not be back for a while.
He sounds like he's the furthest one away. I mean, I know for sure McNeil is starting the rehab tonight. So he'll be in Brooklyn for his rehab assignment. He's going with the Cyclones. Conforto, it sounds like, will start tomorrow. If not tomorrow, the following day. I don't know if he's going to go to Brooklyn or up to Syracuse. But Conforto is right behind McNeil. It sounds like not for this weekend in Washington, but it sounds like they're expecting those guys to be back for the 3-game set with Atlanta. So we won't see him this weekend, but probably come Monday, Tuesday-ish. So I would say about a week away for those guys.
Okay.
And then J.D. Davis, I would say, is probably like another 2 weeks behind them. Brandon Nimmo, there's no timetable right now, which is crazy. You could put Brandon Nimmo. I wouldn't be surprised if it was around the All-Star break, honestly, which is crazy. But he's had neck issues before, and I just don't think they're at a point in time where they want him to rush it back. I think just get better, get right.
So I read something, and I'm trying to find it, but I read it on Instagram. But it was like a Mets account, it was seemed like had enough followers to be legit. So he has a torn ligament on his left index finger, not even the neck, right?
It started with the neck.
Yeah, I know, but
He's a
and
mess.
then it did, remember his hand when he was swinging, and then it like, all right, they think it was
He got
just
hit by
like,
a pitch, right?
Yeah, I think so, something like that. But he has a torn ligament on his index finger. He just discovered that it was torn. I think it's swollen, whatever. So he is like he's hitting right now, they say, but because there's nothing that you can do, like there's no surgery for like something that tiny, right?
Right.
So he's taken full swings and it's light swinging, but it is batting practice on the field, so it's something. That's what our guy Mikey Puma reports.
Okay.
Um,
I like Puma.
and they're saying maybe a rehab assignment in the near future, but it's just so general. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so
Like what?
general.
What did you actually report there, Mike? He's taking light swings. The end.
Well, and that's probably all they got because it seems like they don't really. I mean, even and the thing is too, it's like nothing to really like. You can't put much thought into it
Got to
because like
be.
he's taken swings 2 weeks ago and then shut it down again.
It's got to be really frustrating for him. I can't
Yeah,
even.
so it's one of those. It's just like a feel thing as opposed to like, hey, this is the rehab for this. You get better. So
Yeah. 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 I don't know. He just takes some time. We have. I mean, Pilar and McKinney will hold it down in the
yeah, Billy
outfield.
McKinney, take your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And like, come back. Come back when you're healthy, man.
Yeah,
I can't see these guys. The last thing that I want is for these guys to come back and bust it down the first base line and be gone again. That would be hard to watch, really hard to watch. Because
yeah, that's what I'm
now
hoping
it's
doesn't
where
happen.
our expectations were play 500. They're fucking doing better than that, right? Okay, they're playing really good baseball. Rojas deserves a lot of credit. He's made some really good moves. The front office deserves a ton of credit for the depth and all of the freaking waiver wires and DFAs and up and downs from Syracuse and everything, right? And these guys are playing above expectations. The pitching is great, and it would be like so deflating for these guys to come back. It's like, okay, we did our jobs. You guys are here. You take it from here. We're
Yep.
passing the baton, and for them to just drop the baton and get hurt again would just be so deflating. It would be really hard to watch, honestly.
No, I agree. It'd be tough. So that's like probably part of my worry with this too. Is like, make sure you guys are back.
You want to know who we're never going to see ever again?
Cameron Maben.
Yeah, okay, besides Cameron Maben. That was funny.
I mean,
Dylan Betances.
oh yeah.
I'm gonna read the stat line from his rehab assignment today. Dylan Betances threw. This was his second his second game. So his first game, he threw a scoreless inning. Today he allowed 5 runs in single A, St. Lucie, which is low A. 5 runs, 2 walks, 3 hits, only 1 out. I mean, he's done. There's no shot. It's over. And it's sad because you never want to see someone go out like this, but apparently the velocity was down from his first outing, and just it's like dude's got dead arm. I feel bad for him, but at the same time, another bad Brody signing, and you cut your losses and you just move on at this point.
Bad signing, but I was with it at the moment, and at the end of the day, what is he making? 9-10 million? Like that's nothing.
Yeah.
For Stevie Pockets over there. So, it sucks for him. It is what it is. Guy's made a shit ton of money. Good for him. But yeah, I mean, he was throwing 92 in the game when we were watching, and it's like, I mean, like you could get away with 92 if you're spotting and
that's the problem
all over, but that's not his game. So it's like, yeah, it's probably over.
Speaking of who else might be over, it might be over for Matt Harvey too.
Oh, what happened to him?
His last 5 starts, he's got like a 7.25 ERA. You know who they played? He pitched yesterday. You know who knocked him out of the game? I don't know if you saw this.
I didn't.
Ahmed Rosario hit a 2 RBI double and knocked him out of the game. It's like, that's Met on Met crime, Ahmed.
Yeah. Damn, I'm looking at it now. 3 1/3, 5 earned runs. Yeah, I mean, it's.
I don't know who else they have, but I mean, you got to figure they'll pick somebody up over, or I don't know, but it ain't looking good for Matt Harvey either.
No, I mean, you just keep hoping that he gets one more start and then does well. But I mean, like, if there's ever a team to give him one more start, it's the Orioles. I'll give them that.
Yeah, we're really bad. We could. Yeah. They're welcome to Citi Field anytime.
Jeez, they're so bad.
So, all right, we covered a lot today. We got McNeil and Conforto coming back. 2 more with the Cubbies. We got deGrom tonight. Stroman tomorrow. Then we go 3 down in Washington. Then 3 back home versus the Atlanta Braves. Sean Reed-Foley called up. Jacob Barnes DFA, Dylan Betances RIP, Peterson much better, Joey Lucchesi headed in the right direction, Billy McKinney, Jose Peraza, Jonathan VR, all really good. Same with Seth Lugo. I have a man crush on James McCann. The Mets are in first place in the National League East. Did I miss anything? Like all is good in Metland.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to watch the first 30 minutes of this episode, just go to the end, and we just summed it up right there.
No, don't do that.
I mean, if you made it here, you probably watched the beginning.
All right. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right, man. Put it in the books, baby, and let's go Mets.